We've all been there, the moments when life feels like a beautiful daydream, swirling with potential and unencumbered by reality. And while it's tempting to bask solely in the sunlight of our aspirations, there's a quieter, more profound perspective to consider. What if you took a moment to look the other way? What if, instead of daydreaming about all the good things that might happen, you took a second to think about the challenges that might arise? This isn't about being pessimistic or a Debbie Downer. Instead, it's about embracing a pragmatic approach to life, a sort of mental rehearsal for the inevitable twists and turns that every journey entails. Imagine sitting down to watch your favorite series or flipping through a gripping novel. You know there's going to be a twist. The best storytelling relies on unexpected developments that keep us engaged. Real life carries that same unpredictability. It's messy, it's complex, and it has a way of tossing curveballs that can knock us off our feet if we're not prepared. That's where the Stoic practice of picturing the worst comes in. This technique not only helps us build resilience, but also allows us to foster gratitude for the goodness in our lives. Setting the scene. The plot twist approach. Think about your favorite movies or shows. How many times have you watched a character experience a setback that leaves them vulnerable or exposed? Sure, it's entertaining, but there's also a lesson in those plot twists. Life serves up similar experiences, and those who can anticipate challenges tend to navigate them with greater grace. Let's say you're super excited about that big presentation you're giving at work. You've been visualizing your success, imagining the applause and team praise. But before you get too swept away in your daydream, let's pause. Imagine this scenario. What if the projector fails right when you need to display your brilliant slides? What if your boss is in a bad mood that day? What if a key statistic you intended to present turns out to be outdated? By reflecting on these potential pitfalls, you're prepping your mind for a possible reality rather than whistling past the graveyard. Mental preparation acts like a buffer against life's shocks. By thinking through potential setbacks beforehand, you'll soothe your anxiety and bolster your ability to respond calmly if things do go awry. Toughen up. Mental calluses. Let's get real about mental strength for a minute. Just as athletes build strength through consistent training, we can cultivate mental grit through deliberate practice. It's about building what I like to call mental calluses. You know how calluses form on our hands from gripping weights or tools? Similarly, mental calluses are built through confronting discomfort regularly. When you actively engage with your fears, consider those worst-case scenarios, you're developing an emotional resilience that can serve you well. Instead of crumpling under pressure, you'll stand like a grizzled boxer who's weathered a few rounds. For instance, imagine you're preparing for a challenging conversation about a pay raise. Naturally, you're excited, but you're also nervous. Why not think through the worst that could happen? Maybe the boss says no outright or suggests that raises aren't in the budget. As unpleasant as these thoughts might feel, visualizing them prepares you to respond calmly. You might even develop a backup plan, like asking for additional responsibilities or setting a timeline for revisiting the topic. By facing your fears, you create a mental framework that allows you to absorb shocks more effectively. Instead of feeling paralyzed by anxiety, you empower yourself to handle adversity when it arises. Cultivating gratitude through contrast. Gratitude is a buzzword these days, but how often do we genuinely reflect on what we have? It's easy to take things for granted when everything is sunshine and rainbows, but let's switch gears and think about the impact of loss. Imagine losing a cherished friend, a loving family member, or even something simpler, like your favorite coffee shop closing down. Each significant loss provides a different perspective on what we previously held dear. Take a moment and visualize someone or something in your life that you value deeply. Maybe it's the unwavering support of a friend or the warmth of your home. Now sit with the uncomfortable thought of losing that thing. Maybe that friend moves away, or that cozy apartment you cherish becomes unaffordable. This exercise might be challenging, but it's vital for a deeper appreciation of your current life. Once that uncomfortable imagery settles, think back to reality. the friends you have, the space you inhabit, or the relationships you nurture. Reflect on the goodness in those things, and suddenly gratitude floods in. What seemed routine now shine with vibrancy, and instead of taking things for granted, you learn to cherish the mundane. Cherishing the mundane, a broader perspective on life's experiences. Life is a beautiful mosaic, with each day composed of vibrant hues of joy, sorrow, triumph, and defeat. Among these, it's often the mundane moments that hold the most profound significance. In our fast-paced world, we can easily overlook the small things, the morning coffee ritual, the laughter shared with friends, or even the comforting routine of returning home after a long day. Instead of taking these moments for granted, we can learn to appreciate their extraordinary nature by understanding their impermanence. The subtle beauty of everyday life. Let's take a moment to embrace the beauty of the mundane. Imagine a quiet Sunday morning, the sunlight streaming through the window, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee wafting through the kitchen, and the comforting sound of the world outside slowly awakening. It is in these moments that we often find peace and clarity, yet they can be so easily overshadowed by our aspirations and worries. When we shift our perspective and focus on the richness of our daily lives, we begin to uncover a treasure trove of experiences waiting to be cherished. Instead of racing past them in pursuit of grand achievements, we learn to celebrate life's simple pleasures, the laughter over breakfast, the conversations that stretch over old memories, or the shared silence during a sunset. All these instances beckon us to pause and revel in their beauty. Real-world example: the job interview transformed. To illustrate this transformation in perspective, let's revisit the example of landing a job interview, a moment often fraught with anxiety and excitement. You've envisioned yourself in that role, imagining the thrill of meeting the team, showcasing your skills, and perhaps even being offered a fantastic job. But let's also take a moment to contemplate the dread that can creep in. What if you blank on a vital question? What if your nerves get the better of you, creating a scenario you hadn't prepared for? Instead of merely worrying about potential pitfalls, picture this. By practicing mindfulness and visualizing your emotions throughout the process, you equip yourself with tools to nurture confidence amid uncertainty. You can acknowledge your fears without allowing them to dictate your experience. Perhaps you take a moment to breathe deeply before entering the interview room, centering your thoughts on the present rather than spiraling into what-ifs. Now consider the richness of the entire process, the opportunity to engage with new people, the adrenaline coursing through your veins as you speak about your passions, those fleeting smiles and conversations shared during breaks. This is where the transformative power of the mundane comes to life. Even if you stumble on a question, or the interview doesn't go as you planned, instead of solely fixating on the outcome, recognize the value of the experience itself. Embrace the laughter over a shared joke, the camaraderie with fellow candidates, or the unique insights shared by your interviewers. Every moment is a part of the beautiful learning curve we call life. The double-edged sword of fear. The fear of failure often casts a long shadow over our pursuits, and this dread can keep us confined within our comfort zones. Many people grapple with the fear of the unknown, finding themselves paralyzed when faced with significant decisions or opportunities. However, when we learn to embrace this fear instead of resisting it, we discover its true nature, an invitation for growth. Consider the anxiety you feel during a pivotal moment, be it delivering a presentation, reciting wedding vows, or facing the final challenge in a sports competition. Instead of viewing these scenarios through the lens of fear, reframe them as stepping stones on your journey. Imagine letting go of the need for a perfect outcome and instead embracing the idea that each experience, whether triumphant or challenging, is an essential chapter in your story. When you prepare yourself for possible setbacks, you begin to view failure not as an endpoint, but as a process. When something doesn't unfold as you envisioned, it doesn't mean you failed. It signifies a chance to recalibrate, to reflect, and to learn. Each time you stumble, consider it not a moment of despair, but a cue to regain balance, cultivating resilience and wisdom that will serve you in future endeavors. Transforming worry into action. Let's shift our focus to the proactive side of picturing the worst. Often, we're bound by worries that seem insurmountable. But what if, instead of allowing these anxieties to consume us, we allowed them to inform our actions? Picturing the worst can become an empowering tool, prompting you to create actionable steps in the face of uncertainty. For instance, while planning a big event, be it a wedding, reunion, or community gathering, you might envision various scenarios. What if it rains? What if the food doesn't arrive? What if a key speaker cancels? By inviting these thoughts into your planning phase, you don't merely spiral into doubt. You create a contingency plan that turns worry into preparation. Imagine discussing these possibilities with your team, brainstorming backups, and setting communication channels. You've effectively transformed anxiety into organization, enhancing your readiness and fostering teamwork. By facing these worries collectively, you strengthen community bonds and create a shared commitment to navigating uncertainty together. When the event day arrives, the clouds aren't looming so ominously. Instead, you approach the day with confidence, prepared for any twists that may arise. If it rains, you have a tent set up or umbrellas on hand. If a guest speaker is a no-show, you've lined up alternate plans. Here's to the unpredictable nature of life, which now feels more like an adventure than a burden, a canvas where you get to paint your experiences in vibrant colors. A daily practice, embracing life's impermanence. Developing a daily practice of envisioning both what could go wrong and what is going right allows us to cultivate a mindset of resilience while cherishing the present. Carve out a few minutes each day for reflection, allowing yourself to explore these concepts. 1. What worries me today? Acknowledge your anxieties and validate the emotions that come with them. 2. What obstacles might arise this week? Visualize specific challenges you could encounter, turning potential fears into an opportunity for growth. 3. What small joys am I experiencing? Notice and appreciate the mundane moments, perhaps the joy of a shared cup of coffee or the beauty of a blooming flower in your garden. 4. How will I respond if faced with adversity? Consider how you will handle challenges, empowering yourself with a mental toolbox of responses. 5. What can I do today to appreciate the simple things? Take intentional actions to savor those small moments, whether it's taking a mindful walk or expressing gratitude for someone you love. By integrating this reflective practice into your routine, you nurture emotional intelligence and foster a profound appreciation for life in all its intricacies. You create a space to engage authentically with your experiences, both joyful and challenging, and come to recognize that both are integral parts of the larger narrative of your life. Conclusion: embracing life's full tapestry. As we navigate through the unpredictable ebb and flow of existence, let us remember that life is filled with moments of unexpected vibrancy, the exhilarating high of new opportunities and the quiet beauty found in the ordinary. The Stoic art of picturing the worst helps us prepare for life's uncertainties while simultaneously nurturing a rich appreciation for each experience. The next time you find yourself meandering through life, allow yourself to pause and engage deeply with the present. Acknowledge both the fears and the joys that exist within. Shift your focus from merely seeking perfection or avoiding discomfort to cherishing the full spectrum of experiences that make us beautifully human. When you embrace the notion of picturing the worst, you cultivate not only resilience but also a robust capacity for gratitude. Embrace these moments of stillness and spontaneity. They invite you to dance in the rain and celebrate life's complexities. In the grand theater of existence, every scene has its significance. Life invites us to embrace it all, to treasure moments bright and dull, overwhelming and tranquil, and to discover the extraordinary nestled within the mundane. So take your seat, breathe in the atmosphere, and engage fully in each act of this magnificent journey we call life. Final thought: embracing the whole spectrum of experience. As we wrap up this exploration of picturing the worst, it's essential to acknowledge that life is a rich tapestry, woven from both challenges and triumphs. While it can be tempting to focus solely on the positive emotions, embracing the darker threads of fear, uncertainty, and failure can offer us something incredibly important: a fuller understanding of our resilience. Picturing the worst ultimately invites us to confront our mortality and the impermanence of all that we cherish. It asks us to recognize the transient nature of our circumstances and relationships. This awareness can deepen our appreciation for the present moment, the laughter shared with a friend, the sunset fading into the horizon, or the comfort of a familiar place. When we approach life with this holistic perspective, we learn to relish the simple joys when they come our way.